Hi everyone, welcome back to Susan Dawn Ascension Connections, part of Susan Dawn Spiritual Connections, and welcome to the 2024 Year Ahead reading. Each year since 2022, I have been doing this Year Ahead reading. It is meant to serve as guidance for your year ahead, and I'm going to have timestamps this year in the description box, and we'll revisit this throughout the year just to see how things are progressing and how the timelines are shifting, and to bring you more guidance for your collective year ahead. So we're going to put this into two parts. We're going to do some channeling in the beginning here, and then we're going to get into an actual spread, into an actual reading. And I did have a 2024 year ahead reading as a personal reading. And thank you to everyone who booked with me. And thank you for all of the feedback already that is coming through for those 2024 year ahead readings, the personal readings. I very much appreciate it. It is my honor to always read for you. And I wish all of you a wonderful and happy and prosperous 2024 year ahead. And it seems like prosperity is going to be the name of the game for 2024, but not without its challenges. And it depends on where we are in the journey that is going to help us move through those challenges. And this 2024 collective year ahead reading is meant to help you navigate those challenges and obstacles, especially when it comes to the collective energy. So we're going to begin with a channeling that I had done over on Susan Dawn Spiritual Connections, my main channel. I really encourage you guys to subscribe to both channels so that you don't miss anything. If you want to dive deeper into Ascension, if you want to dive deeper into sacred channelings, into your spiritual awakening and Ascension journey, and even if you want to dive deeper into the sacred union path of Ascension, here's a place to do it. And if you want daily updates and readings and weekly readings, make sure that you're subscribing over on Susan Dawn Spiritual Connections. So we did a soul path reading, and it was a little bit surprising what came through, because what was coming through in December was this 2024 year ahead energy. And I wasn't prepared at the time to do the collective reading, but it was almost like we got a sneak peek. It was like a precursor to this bigger reading that we're doing. I called that reading Embracing the Feminine, and that's really what this energy feels like. It feels like 2024 is this feminine energy. And if we look at the numerology that really supports this, and I'm just going to read what I had written in the description box because it's just easier for me to read it. So, the energetic frequency of the numbers reflected in the years 2023 and 2024 was what we were talking about and what we were channeling. They brought to me the numbers 23 and 24 versus 2023 and 2024. And that changes things. That changes the numerology a little bit, but it's still the same energy. So 23 is a 5 number. 2 plus 3 equals that 5 number. And that brought about a very masculine energy. Then after the reading, after the channeling, they brought to me, oh, it's actually 2023 and 2024, which is another layer, adds another layer to that channeling and to what we were bringing forth. So then if you add up 2 plus 2 plus 3 for 2023, it was a 7 number, which also has a very masculine energy about it, very masculine frequency. And what they shared was, we can go one layer deeper with that channeling. The masculine energy of change with the number 5 can also be seen with the life path energy of the number 7. So it's double layered, which was really interesting to me. This included a growing sense of self-awareness, deepening spiritual understanding, and internal growth. In essence, 2023 was the masculine's ascension. It was a huge awakening for the collective ascension, for the masculine energy on the planet. Similarly, the feminine energy of the number 6, which was 2 plus 4, the 24 at the end of this year, or 2 plus 2 plus 4, which comes to 8, both holding a feminine frequency. This is also seen in the abundance energy of 8, which is what we're channeling for in this next year, including anchoring into more confidence, personal empowerment, and connection to the infinite. I said, please remember that this reading is for the union of the two within the self. So please consider your inner masculine and your inner feminine or that of the greater collective ascension energies when listening. So we are not, and remember that whenever we do any reading, talking about masculine and feminine energy, it's about coming into that oneness. It's about coming into that wholeness. And that really is what 2024 is going to be all about. Recognizing oneness, recognizing community. And again, it depends on where you are on your journey and that level of awareness that you might have. But it's about coming into the wholeness, coming into that oneness where one is not separate from the other. For too long on this planet, the collective energies have been split, have been separate. And that's part of the separation that we feel within ourselves. That's part of the disconnect that we feel from each other, is because it's one has been pitted against each other. And that's the way that society has operated. Sadly so, disappointingly so, even frustratingly so. The energies have been pitted against each other. And you can see this in the physical world where it's men against women or male against female. But it's supposed to operate in oneness. You can't have one without the other. And in nature, you actually see the harmonization of those energies. We live in a very dualistic world, but what our ascension teaches us is that middle path. It's not so black and white, it's not so hot and cold. It is varying degrees in support of each other. And it's working in harmony, it's working in that oneness together. Both have something to bring to the table, both have something to offer to the world. And again, we're not talking about physical presence, we're talking about the energies, and you have both masculine and feminine energies within you. And so, in that harmonization of those energies, in the harmonization, you have that oneness. You have the peace, you have the balance. You are transcending that duality or dualistic perspective. And so a long time ago, they brought me the analogy of the waterfall. And the waterfall is a perfect embodiment in nature, in our physical world, of the balance of the masculine and the feminine energies. The feminine energy is the flow, is the water. The masculine energy is the banks of that waterfall. It's the grounding, it's the ground itself. Without that masculine presence, without that stability, without that authority, that integrity, that container, that structure, that discipline, the feminine energy just overflows, right? It just floods and it creates disasters and it creates catastrophes and it upends everything. The masculine container is not about control and it's not about power. That is the corrupt and distorted masculine energy. Just like the overflow of emotions and the overflow of energy with the water, the flood of energy is a distorted feminine energy, is a wounded feminine energy. Coming into balance within both, and that's what we do on this ascension journey, is we are healing the masculine and the feminine energy. We are redefining, is the word that they're bringing me, the distortions of those energies, or how it's been distorted through centuries, through society, through programming, through conditioning, and bringing it into balance so that it creates this beautiful, natural, abundant flow of energy, this waterfall. And waterfalls being majestic, being magical, being powerful forces of nature in and of themselves, right? Natural forces of nature in and of themselves. That is the union of the two, the harmonization of the masculine and the feminine energy. Put into very basic terms here, so let's put this into context. Put into very basic terms, but if you want to go deeper into these teachings, you can check out any of the sacred channelings here on Susan Dawn Ascension Connections, or we go deeper into this with regards to the sacred union path of ascension over on Susan Dawn Spiritual Connections. So it's all about the balance of the two, and we were having a major masculine awakening. You might have been working on your inner masculine, safety, security, presence, authority, personal authority, releasing energies of control, releasing energies of corruption, releasing energies of that resistant, like that this kind of paradigm where you're clenching your fists and you're holding on, where you're holding on to a false sense of power, a false sense of control. And you can, look at the world at large and see where that paradigm has existed, where that energy has ceased to flow. And as the masculine energy comes into harmony with the feminine, there is more peace, there is more flow, there is more balance, there is more abundance. The feminine too has been, going through their own ascension, their own rising, trusting in themselves, learning how to tune into themselves, learning how to follow their intuition, learning how to open their heart and keep that open heart, keep that unguarded heart, learning how to balance those emotions. So remember, we're putting it into the context of energy. We're not pitting one against each other. That's where the division was created. That's where the separation was created. That's where we have distorted our reality, distorted our perception as a society. And you can especially see that in how that plays out in dynamics between men and women, or between males and females, or between you can see that in the workplace, you can see that in the home, you can see that in everyday societal structures, right? And that is what is being freed up. So where the pendulum, if we were looking at it as a pendulum, where the pendulum had been fixed with regards to patriarchy, now that pendulum has been released over the past several years, so that now it might feel like it's rocking the boat a little bit. And that's okay, because it has to. There has to be a shift, there has to be a change. And what happens is it's not swinging to the other side of matriarchy. It might feel like that sometimes, but it's coming to, when you let go of a pendulum, it like goes like this, rocks a little bit, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. You can see this in our society with, women's right to vote. You can see that in women's right as a whole. You can see that especially in the 19th or the 20th century, the 1900s, the women's suffrage movements, for example. You can really look back through history and see where there was this rising desire for recognition of the feminine energy, where that feminine energy had been suppressed, where that feminine energy had been repressed, where that feminine energy had been submerged. But again, please put this into context of energy. We see this play out in our collective reality, in our physical reality, especially when it comes to men and women, because that's how usually this energy plays out. But remember that you have the masculine and the feminine energy within you. So as that energy is released, as that foothold, that power, that corrupt control is released, the pendulum rocks back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and we're getting to that 0 point. We're getting to that place of balance where both exist in harmony. And that's where the honoring of each other comes into being. And that's why conscious relationships and the sacred union path of ascension, for those who relate to that, is so important, because it's helping you to understand what a conscious relationship is in the honoring of the energies of each other. Now, I want to bring this back for a minute, because they're calling me to, about how the feminine and masculine energy exists within you. And so you might be on a path of ascension with another person where they are that mirror for you. They're reflecting to you your shadow side. They're reflecting to you your light. Both, because you can't have the shadow without the light. You can't have the light without the shadow. One shows you the other. And so it's showing you where the healing has to happen. It shows you where what I like to call the remembrance has to happen, because that's ultimately what you're doing on this ascension journey, is you're remembering your sacredness. You're remembering your divinity, where other people and society might have crowded your energy and crowded your mind and made you believe whatever it is that you believe, or your experiences had you believe, or you had certain mindsets based on your upbringing. This is where you are coming into your personal sovereignty. This is where you're coming into your personal authority. And so, with the masculine and the feminine energy within you, that has a ripple effect in your relationships, that has a ripple effect in the greater collective as a whole, the global collective as a whole. So, the feminine and masculine energy within you, as you heal both within you, if you are a female, for example, that has embodied or embodies that core feminine frequency, then you might be working on healing the masculine within you, feeling more safe and secure to express that feminine nature, the softness, the gentleness, but also the expression, the fierceness. Kalima is coming through to just remind me that that is feminine energy as well. The fierceness, the warrior energy, as well, allowing yourself to stand up, allowing yourself to speak your truth, and not suppressing that, not subverting that. Being true to your heart, being true to who you are, even against opposition. Making sure that you are in touch and at one with yourself, trusting your intuition, following your truth, following your path, following your heart. That is all feminine energy, bringing that energy down into the heart space and embodying that. For so long, a lot of females and a lot of feminine energies had suppressed that because it was an over masculinated world, that corrupt, distorted, masculinated world. And so, what has happened is the feminine has gone perhaps too hyper independent, into the other extreme, too masculine, trying to control, trying to force, not out of ill intention, but that's how he or she has learned to live in this world, to survive in this world. And so, what happens through this ascension journey, through your healing, is you begin to really feel more secure and safe within yourself. And I'm pointing to my lower three chakras because that's where the masculine energy is. The masculine energy really resides within the lower three chakras, the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus. That's that point of power, the empowerment, your personal identity. That's the root, which is the groundedness to the earth, to the physical plane. And that's even the sacral, which is that those emotions, that feeling safe and feeling secure to express yourself. Feminine energy is really residing in the higher three chakras, the crown chakra, the brow chakra, and the throat chakra. The crown is that connection to the universe, to God's source. The third eye is that connection to your intuition and knowing things or seeing things or feeling things intuitively. The throat chakra is being able to express yourself, to communicate in healthy ways. And what happens is, as you're healing this, well, I'll get to that in a second. So, what happens is the feminine is healing the masculine energy, feeling safe and secure within herself, where she might have hid herself away or suppressed all of her energies. So, that's coming into balance for the feminine. On the masculine side, if this is a male, for example, or a masculine dominant energy, the masculine might have suppressed their own inner feminine and become overly masculinated, become aggressive, not able to express their anger in healthy ways, not able to express their emotions in healthy ways, anger being one of those emotions. So the overly masculinated energy, not in balance with their feminine, might be more aggressive, more assertive, but not in healthy ways assertive. Assertiveness is good. That's you standing up for yourself, but this is like in a distorted way that we're talking about here. They might have been controlling. They might have had power issues, a lot of ego coming to the forefront, not standing in their dignity, not standing in their integrity, putting an emphasis and priority on material things, finances, money, material objects, rather than, things that feel good to them. They might have been in a place where they were adhering to expectation and duty versus trusting their own intuition versus getting in touch with their own emotions. At the same time, suppressing their emotions, not allowing themselves to feel. I'm hearing the phrase going cold. So, a lot of stoicism, not able to communicate in healthy ways. And a lot of this, too, comes from upbringing, not being nurtured, not allowing the expression of self, the true expression of self. And again, this is from societal programming. And you can look at society as a whole and how this has played out. And I'm also getting that you can actually look at different countries and how this plays out, because there are different countries and culture that plays a huge part in your upbringing, plays a huge part in the experience here. They're actually bringing me to some Scandinavian countries and how there's a real nurturance of the masculine, and that nurturance of the masculine brings about healthy masculine energy. So, society and culture has played a huge part in this distortion of energies, the imbalance of energies between the masculine and the feminine. And so, for the masculine, what happens is, as they get in touch with their feminine energy, to honor the feminine energy, to not try to dismiss it or avoid it or push it away, or to look at it as weaker than, which society has historically done. um, Honoring the feminine means honoring the feminine within themselves. So, what happens as they honor the feminine within themselves, they're actually able to get more in tune with the masculine energy within them, the healthy masculine energy within them. Presence, consistency, integrity, dignity, having a strong moral compass. And the strength is the epitome of the masculine. That presence, that strength, that providership is what the feminine energy needs to feel safe, to express his or herself. So, working in tandem, what happens is as the feminine brings that energy down into her heart and embodies that within the higher heart space, the masculine energy rises into the heart space, and that's where your union is. Your union is on the bridge of the heart. So, it's a really beautiful energy of balance and harmony between the masculine and the feminine. And from that bridge of the heart space, that is where you create, that's where we birth a new world. We've been getting a lot of new earth energy lately. We've been channeling that for many, many years. But that new earth energy has been coming back into the forefront here. And that's really what it is that we are creating. And it's beginning now. So I'm channeling this. We're finally doing this 2024 year ahead reading on January 20th. It is an extremely auspicious day. Pluto is moving out of Capricorn into Aquarius. This is what we're going to talk about next. So, Pluto in Aquarius is an energy of the dawning of the age of Aquarius. And that's what they were bringing me. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. You've heard that song from the 60s and 70s. That's what's really happening now. It began to seep into our collective consciousness over the past several decades, wanting a new way of being, wanting a new way of embodiment, wanting a new way of living and loving, wanting a new society, right? Knowing that the old wasn't working. But there were still some power struggles. There was still some of the old paradigm that was being held on to. Now, what's happening is we are really creating that shift in our physical world now, because the collective energy moves first. The collective consciousness, the energy within the consciousness, is created first, and then we begin to see it in our physical world. And actually, over the past several years, especially if you go back to, well, they're bringing me back to 2012, but 2012 creating a huge shift of collective awakening, moving into 2020, where we begin to see new ways of doing things. Now, there was some destruction there. And there was some fear that was there, that was cultivated there, because it was a new way of living, a new way of being. And it came about, that pandemic energy came about, out of fear, but you could also see the unity in it. You could also see what was created. Rather than giving into that fear, so many created a what was best. That's why I will always believe in humanity. You would see people on their balconies singing, or coming together and saying prayers, or communicating in new ways with technology, finding new ways to come together when we were, in essence, in isolation. That time of isolation is coming to a close. So, wherever fear was meant to be ingrained in society, humanity always has a way of overcoming that and coming back to unity. And that's what's happening now. That's the pendulum shift, the ultimate pendulum shift. That's why I will always believe in humanity, and that's our collective ascension. So, Pluto. Pluto is actually a really amazing and fascinating energy. Pluto is anything that is hidden. And you can actually see that Pluto is the outer planets in our solar system, right? And for a long time, Pluto wasn't actually acknowledged as a planet. It got its label of a planet taken away and then reinstated. But so it's the outlier. It's what's hidden. It is transformation, it's personal transformation, but also collective transformation. Because what happens within us, our individual ascension, has a ripple effect on the whole, has a ripple effect on the collective. Pluto can bring about dark nights of the soul, because it is breaking loose or breaking free anything that is no longer serving us. And the dark nights of the soul are the acknowledgement of ourselves, the acknowledgement of, okay, this actually isn't working for us. And that's where we plunge into dark nights of the soul. It's meant to shake us up. It's meant to bring us to new awareness, bring us to new consciousness. Not going back to the same old way. We saw that with the pandemic as well, where there were real changes to the old ways of doing things. So not going back to the old ways or the way that things were. So Pluto moving into Aquarius now is really this dawning of the age of Aquarius, dawning of this new earth. And we're going to be seeing this in physical representation now. We've begun to see it in physical representation. Pluto moves slowly, The last time Pluto was in Aquarius was 225 years ago. And that was the revolutions, the French Revolution, the American Revolution. And that's what Pluto in Aquarius really does. It's a revolution of the self, a revolution of the collective, upending the old ways of doing things because they're just not working. And they're not working for the collective. So, Pluto in Aquarius specifically is about burning down old structures. Aquarian energy is humanitarianism, innovation, freedom, revolution. It's about authenticity. Aquarians really like that sense of authenticity and paving a new path. And authenticity is a key word for 2024. Anything that is not authentic, anything that is not of the heart, of the higher heart is what I'm saying. Anything that is not embodied is going to be paved away, or you will be pushed out of that resistance to be more authentic, to be more you. And again, depending where you are on your individual ascension journey, this can either be a hard push, like a push from the universe, or it can be very supportive of, if you're already embodying, if you're already moved through a lot of your ascension journey and you are in this place of authenticity, it can level up the authenticity. So you feel more confident, you feel more comfortable in that authenticity. So it really depends on where you are. Individually and societally, this is going to be changes also in how we live. And how we live is going to be energetic. How do you live energetically? And again, that's the authenticity. There's also going to be big structural changes, politics, government. And again, we've already begun to see this in the destruction pre-Aquarian energy. We've already begun to see this, and that's because this energy is not just, oh, okay, we're in Aquarius now, so let's get started. This energy kind of ramps up. So we might have already been seeing this over the past couple of years begin to take shape, begin to take form, especially, I want to say 2012 to 2020, like these years, we've really begun to see that the old ways of doing things just isn't serving the higher consciousness, the new earth energy that we are collectively moving into. And again, it's because on a soul level, we know that this is not authentic to the way that we are meant to be living. Authenticity again. That the structures that were implemented might have served the few, but doesn't serve the whole. And that is also a key component I'm hearing to Pluto in Aquarius. It's moving out of the individual or the few or the select few into the whole, into unity consciousness. Pluto in Aquarius is all about community. It's all about the unity consciousness, the collective consciousness. And so those were the two key words that I've been channeling for the past couple of months, is authenticity and community being key components for 2024 as a whole. And that's going to lay the foundation for the years to come. So 2024 to 2023, Pluto is going to be in Aquarius now. There's going to be a slight retrograde back into Capricorn in September and November of this year, 2024. But that is an adjustment period. Retrogrades are just kind of like a reflection and review to say, okay, is this actually serving us? Are we actually on the right path? I was also getting this energy as I was writing some notes down about this. As I was channeling about this, I got this energy of a reminder that Capricorn energy is the sea goat. And the sea goat is kind of like the bridge, right? The sea goat knows how to climb the mountain, can stand on the mountain, can stand on earth, on the ground. It's very grounded energy, but also feels comfortable in the depths, in the waters, with that fish energy. I'm actually getting like Piscean energy, very comfortable in the depths as well. So the Capricorn energy is that bridge, and that's where we've been. Pluto has been in Capricorn. It's been that bridge, that shift. And again, it's fascinating to me because you can really look back through certain ages and certain time periods in our collective history. And this had come through in a channeling where when we have not just certain astrological transits, but certain shifts in consciousness is created because the collective is creating a shift in consciousness. So when we had the Dark Ages, for example, it was because there was a collective energy of fear. And that's where a lot of persecution and prosecution happened. They're actually bringing me even back to the burning of the Library of Alexandria, where it was that Library of Alexandria collectively had so much knowledge, so much esoteric knowledge is also what I'm hearing. There was so much to be learned. And with that, so much of that knowledge was lost. And when we're saying knowledge, we're not just talking about intellectual knowledge, although, yes, but we're also talking about spiritual knowledge, that awareness of self. And that's where there's been this crumbling. So collectively, there was an energy of fear, and that created the Dark Ages, persecution, the Inquisition, etc., suppression of self, suppression of gifts, suppression of spiritual knowledge, suppression of the individual, too. And so the Age of Enlightenment, for another example, or the Renaissance area, was this rebirth of arts, rebirth of humanity, rebirth of coming together in community and support. You had people who were patrons of the arts, for example, really nurturing the artistic endeavors. And that's because in the collective consciousness, we had shifted to give birth to that. Well, this is another shift in consciousness that has been created, especially with Pluto and Capricorn. We saw this rising. We saw this bridge that was being built from the old to the new. And now the new is here. Pluto in Aquarius is the new. So this, again, the dawning of the age of Aquarius, this is the physical manifestation of that shift in collective consciousness. And again, you can apply that to your individual life, but this is also what's happening on a global stage. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating how everything is interconnected and how everything has this ripple effect. So, moving from the individual to community doesn't mean that you're not an individual still. You're still going to express yourself individually. But there's more of a authentic, unifying energy about this, more of a community energy about this, recognizing the need for support with each other. Rather than, when I say the individual, I'm not talking about your individual expression of self, your unique expression of yourself, and that's to be honored. That's your authentic self. There's going to be more of an acceptance of that moving forward because we're moving into that community energy. That community energy is supporting one another. And so supporting the individual, for example, where you might have been hyper independent and isolated, and I've got this, I can take care of this on my own. That's the energy that we're moving out of. Recognizing the need for community, recognizing the value of community, and honoring that as we honor each other individually. So where there have been divisive elements, where there had been disconnect, where there had been me against you or us versus them, is coming now into wholeness. It's unifying. And that's the sacred union path of ascension. We experience that within ourselves, and we experience that within the whole. Authenticity, community, new ways of doing things, new innovations, new structures, releasing the power struggle, releasing the ego, and connecting back to the soul. That is what we're going to be seeing, not just this year, but this year's laying the foundation for the new earth energy that is to come. And like we've channeled before, don't forget that you are the new earth energy. So as you embody these energies of authenticity and compassion and kindness and love, most importantly, that foundation of love through which everything extends, through which compassion and kindness and patience and harmony all evolve. The energy of love, the more you embody that, the more that has a ripple effect. And this is really where it begins. So 2024 feels like a real foundational year. It feels like an exciting year if we allow ourselves to not resist the old or the changing of the old. I'm hearing the changing of the guard. If we allow ourselves to move into the new, if we allow ourselves to go with the flow, and that's the feminine energy, right? To stand up and have the strength of the masculine energy, the fierce warrior energy of the masculine energy, the fighter energy. And when I say fighter, I mean standing up, speaking up, standing true to yourself and your values and your integrity, with the feminine energy of compassion and kindness and open-heartedness and expression of self. The more we bridge those two, the more it's going to have a ripple effect to move us more and more and more into this collective consciousness of union, unity, and oneness, this new earth energy. And the less we resist, the easier the path is going to become. All right, So let's get into our 2024 year ahead reading. Stay tuned. If you're new to my year ahead readings, if you've never had a personal year ahead reading with me, or you missed out on the 2022 or 2023 year ahead readings, which are still available here on Susan Dawn Ascension Connections, this is how these readings are going to work. We have a bit of a set spread. We're going to be looking at the current energy and what do we need to know heading into this new year. Now, we're already a couple of days into the new year, but this is going almost towards the end of January, actually. But this is going to be the overall energy for the beginning of this new year. What is it that we need to know in this time right now? Then what we're going to do is we're going to do a spread that looks like a clock. We're going to pull 3 cards for the first quarter, January, February, and March. Now, even though we are pulling 3 cards for January, February, March, it's not 1 card for January, 1 card for February, 1 card for March. We're looking at the overall energies of the quarter. Because energy is fluid, we don't want to have that expectation or to affix to this is going to happen in this month, this is going to happen in this month. Energy is very fluid, time is constantly shifting, and we are just picking up on one potential timeline based on the current energy now. This is why we start with the current energy to kind of see how this timeline might play out. Remember that you can take this for your individual journey as well, but we're going to be looking at this from the global planetary collective energy, what might be happening collectively in the year ahead, and use this to help you navigate your path as well through these energies. So we're going to start with first quarter, January, February, and March, second quarter, April, May, June, third quarter, July, August, September, and fourth quarter, October, November, December. Then we're going to look at certain themes. What might be happening in relationships? What might be happening with regards to finances or career or the financial sector or career shifts that might be happening collectively? What might be happening with regards to changes within the home or the family? And what are we learning collectively when it comes to soul growth? Then I'm adding something different for this year. We're going to look at the collective challenges for the year ahead, the collective blessings for the year ahead, because those are one and the same. We might have some challenges, but there are always blessings. And so really start to look at that. If you're experiencing challenges within your own life, look for the blessings that are on the other side of that. That's going to help you shift your mindset and navigate these energies as well. We're going to pull some message cards for guidance, and we're going to end with a message from the universe using my Conversations with the Universe message deck. All right, so let's get started. All right, let's see. What do we need to know to kind of end 2023 as we are now in 2024? What do we need to know for the current energies now? Collective energies, please, Spirit. We have View from Above, get the big picture. We have Faraway Places, get ready for new horizons. There is a shift that is absolutely happening. And we have Joy and Delight, open your heart to joy. So this is all about that transformation that is happening. We also have at the bottom of the deck, Answering the Call, the time is now. Interestingly enough, 2 of the same messages coming through here. Begin now, take your first step. So again, we can apply this individually or we can apply this to the collective global energies. I do want to point out something that I didn't mention in the previous channeling in the first part of this video was that this transit, Pluto moving into Aquarius, is really going to be significant for the cardinal signs, Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer. And that's significant because from 2008 until 2024 now, Pluto had been in Capricorn, so it was really affecting the cardinal signs. And if you, I've talked about this before, if you've heard me share my experience in Europe, I went to Carcassonne, France. I did not have intention when I was planning my trip to go there, but that ended up being a place that we decided to go. And what was amazing about that was in 2008 was when I had my first initial awakening. I'm a Libra sun, I'm a Aries moon, and I'm a Capricorn rising. So I'm definitely feeling the effects and have felt the effects of this transit. So I personally in 2008, I had my major spiritual awakening in Carcassonne, France, or in a little town in Carcassonne, France. I did not know it was a spiritual awakening at the time, not until a couple of years ago on this ascension journey when I was able to look back. So look back at where you were in 2008. You don't have to have those significant placements in your chart, but if you do, then you can definitely see the transformation that might have been occurring in your life. And so it was a huge transformation. You may have gone through many deaths and rebirths through that time period, through that 15-year cycle. And so just a couple of weeks after I returned from Europe, I was talking about how, oh my gosh, this was a full circle moment. I was here 15 years ago, and it just feels like I closed a chapter. It feels like I closed a book. I experienced much more joy. I was a hot mess in 2008. This was so peaceful and joyful. And oh my gosh, this was 15 years. It was a full circle moment. It was closing of a chapter. Not until I got back and this transit, Pluto moving into Aquarius and closing out of Capricorn, started coming to my awareness that I realized, wow, this was a major cycle, 15-year cycle that was being experienced. And it was being experienced collectively. So even if you don't have those signs in your chart or significant places in your chart, recognize that you might have been going through periods of transformation, periods of rebirth. And as we move into Pluto in Aquarius, if you have Aquarian energy within your chart or any of those other signs, I think they're fixed signs, then you might be starting a 15-year cycle of transformation and death and rebirth. But that's not something to fear. That is something to embrace. And the more that you embrace it, the less you resist it, the easier that transformation is going to come. It requires surrender, is what I'm hearing, but that is the start of something new. So always look at these transits. Always look at astrological support as supporting energies, because they are meant to support you and your soul's evolution and your soul growth. That's this energy here. So 2024 is the beginning of the new. Beginning of the new with regards to this transit, but also the beginning of the new with regards to an awakening. There is a greater awakening that is happening. We have view from above, faraway places, joy and delight, but I'm really getting this, rather than something physical far away, it's almost like this energy of drawing something closer to you. I feel like you're seeing things from a bigger perspective. We'll be understanding things from a bigger perspective, a greater perspective, the wider lens. And that's what you do on this ascension journey, is you see things from the soul's perspective rather than the limited mindset of our egos or the limited mindset of our human paradigm. For example, if you are, let's take education, for example, rather than looking at it as a structure, rather than looking at it as a way of learning, taking a wider perspective and saying, okay, how else can we learn? It's more of like a hands-on approach. I don't know if that's a good example, but looking at it from a wider lens, looking at things from a wider lens. And that might mean exploring your beliefs and where you might have been very limited in those beliefs, where you might have been very limited in those mindsets. I'm getting the word pigeonholed. So where you were looking at it from a very narrowed perspective, a very narrowed mindset, now taking a bigger, looking at it from a greater lens. And that's what ascension and awakening is all about, is seeing things differently and allowing yourself to see things differently and allowing for that transformation to take place. And I feel like what's happening is as you're looking at things from a wider perspective, you're actually drawing in more and more opportunity for that wider perspective to take place. Again, they're bringing me to the systems. So like justice or education or, what else? Legal, politics, all these structures that are society in place. It's reformation. That's the word that they're giving me. It's reformation. Looking at it from a bigger perspective rather than the way that things had always been done. You can apply that to your individual life by where had you always seeing things from one perspective. Now you have to look at it from the bigger viewpoint, from a greater vantage point. The greatest way that I know how to do this is to look at it from the point of relationships, because relationships are our greatest catalyst. So if you're looking at a relationship, if you're in kind of like a 3D perspective, then you can be looking at it as this person is this or that, and this is the experience that I'm having with this person. The wider perspective is looking at it from a soul to soul viewpoint or soul to soul vantage point of, okay, this person might be behaving this way. What's underneath the surface of that? Or where are their beliefs or their upbringing doing that? And simultaneously, where are my beliefs? Where's my behaviors doing that? And looking at it from a soul perspective of what are we here to teach each other? What are we here to learn from each other? For example, if there's a breakup or coming together, why have we come together? Why have we broken up? What is the soul's perspective? Is the lessons and the learning complete? Is there still room for growth? Looking at it from the wider perspective and allowing yourself to open up to that love from the soul's perspective. Does that make sense? It's going to be a little bit hard for me to transition into collective energies when we do so much personally, but apply it personally as well as to the collective energy, because this is what it's about. It's about looking at things differently. And that's what your awakening and your ascension is about. It's about having that wider perspective from the spiritual standpoint versus just a limited view of the human, of the ego, of the personality. So it's about, again, being the bridge. And 2024 is this bridge energy where we are creating the foundation for the new. And so how are you the bridge? You are the bridge because you are, especially through this ascension journey, bringing that soul's perspective, your spirituality, into human form. Not just doing things from the human perspective because you have to, or because society tells you to, or it's expected of you. But where's your soul leading you? What's your inner guidance? What's your intuition telling you? Learning to value the soul, value the heart, and how the heart is speaking to you. Learning to value your spirituality. Learning to bridge the two. That's what your ascension journey is all about. So there's a great awakening that is happening, and it's really going to be anchoring in. It has been happening, but it's really going to be anchoring in 2024. It really feels like there's this embodiment energy that's coming in. So New Horizons isn't just reformation when it comes to these power structures, so to speak, but it's also reformation within the collective consciousness, shifting in consciousness, seeing things differently. They're drawing me to this. This feels like with Open Your Heart as well. It feels like you see this all over social media, people against each other, a lot of conflict. That gets the views, right? It gets the views. Conflict, tension, friction, division, it gets the views. It's not going to get the views anymore because it's inauthentic. We're tuning more to love. We're tuning more to joy. We're tuning more to higher wisdom. We're tuning more to authenticity. So anything that is inauthentic is being released. And that's a shift in consciousness as well. So it's time now for us to step up. It's time now for us to rise into that embodiment. It's time now for us to answer the call of our soul, answer the call of our hearts, versus listening to outside influences. For wherever we're pulled away from ourselves, wherever we're pulled away from our hearts, wherever we're pulled away from our souls, that's what's ending. We're called to rise into our self-empowerment, into our personal sovereignty, into trusting the call of our hearts, into trusting our internal truth, into trusting ourselves. And so that's not to say that there are not mentors and guides. We all learn from each other. That's part of that unity consciousness. That's part of that community, right? That's part of the community support. But it's not about putting another above us. It's about recognizing that we're all parts of the whole, that we all learn from each other. And as such, we're all teachers and students at the same time. We're all learning from each other, and we're all teaching each other at the same time. That's the value of community. I always say to you guys that this really feels like an energetic exchange because I'm learning from you all the time. I'm learning from my own teachings all the time. The work that I do, I'm learning too because I'm going through my own evolution. I'm going through my own ascension. And so this isn't just me here teaching. I call it teaching because I don't know what else to call it, but I'm learning at the same time as I am channeling this information. And I learn from others. Everybody has a part to play. So I'm learning from my soul sisters and brothers at the very same time. Everybody has a part to play. You have a part to play. And that's authenticity, right? That's moving into a recognition of truth. That's moving into a recognition of unity, community, and the collective consciousness. It's a broader perspective. It's a widening perspective. So now is the time. It's starting now. Well, it's already started, but for the collective conscious, for the global collective, it's really starting now. This is a foundation, and there's going to be more anchoring in and more embodiment of this. So I always say that we're all going through our ascension journey. The global planet is going through an ascension journey, and everybody's at different phases. So those who have been going through their ascension or going through their spiritual awakening, there's going to be new levels of that embodiment, new levels of that anchoring in. So the way that people act, the way that people behave, the choices that people make are going to come from more of that sovereign place, more of that spiritual bridge. They're going to more of that embodiment, because that is authentic. What is authenticity? Authenticity is the integration of the sacred soul self. So there's going to be an anchoring in the collective, and I feel like that's what's been happening over 2023. There's been this ascension, especially for the masculine energy within all of us, feeling safe, feeling secure to express that, to express ourselves, to go through this ascension process and anchor in and embody that. And moving into 2024, which is the embodiment of that, the anchoring in of that. So it's all fluid. Every energy is fluid. So this is all building blocks of one another. It interconnects, it builds upon each other. Your evolution builds upon past teachings. It's the inner spiral, right? You go deeper and deeper and deeper into understandings. You might understand something on one level, but it's like then you take another course and you're like, oh, I understand that on a new level now, or in a new layer now. Your evolution is constantly evolving. Your understanding is constantly evolving. So I feel like we are really anchoring into the authentic soul self. We're really anchoring into seeing things from new perspectives. And that's going to apply to our physical world as well, because as we are really seeing things from new perspectives, the old falls away. As we see, oh, this could be done differently, this can be done better. You're going to see this in more standing up for more rights, for collective rights. Community, again, being really integral here. You're going to see this with regards to reformation of bills. And I'm getting that it might have seemed like destruction. It might seem like we're taking a step back. If you look at the news and the bills that are being passed in politics, for example, it really does look like we're taking a step back. It's like there's this joke about like the Handmaid's Tale, right? But there has to be that regression. There has to be that destruction in order for people to say, this is not right. Because there's a new awareness that's coming in. And that's where people stand up. They stand up because of the contrast. You have to have the contrast, at least at one layer or one level of your awakening. You have to have the contrast in order to recognize where you actually want to go. So we've had to have this regression in order for the collective to say, hey, this is not okay. This is not right. To take that wider perspective. Everything serves a purpose, and that's part of the wider lens too. The more we begin to see from the soul's perspective of or the energetic perspective, let's call it, that everything is serving a purpose. Not just looking at it from the physical standpoint anymore, but looking at it, what is happening energetically? What's the bigger picture that's happening here? How is this playing out? And actually, how is this playing out for our benefit? So this regression of bills that are being passed that are limiting our rights, or that are creating more division, or that's creating more destruction. On a greater perspective, look at also what's happening. Look at how people are standing up and saying, hey, that's not right. I'm going to fight for this. Or I'm going to, in some cases, there are people who are actually like, this isn't right. I'm going to run for office. I'm going to run for politics. I'm going to start a nonprofit that supports or that gives care to people that need it, that are being neglected or that are being abandoned in our society. So you're seeing two ends of the spectrum here. Sometimes that regression is necessary in order for people to really wake up, and that is what is happening. And people are really going to begin embodying that truth, the value, the morals of their very soul. That's that authenticity. That's the integrated self. So that's the new that's coming in. We're going to see that reformation. And again, it might feel like a little bit of regression, but you can't have destruction without creation. You can't have creation without destruction. The old has to be dismantled in order for the new to come in. And there's a lot of moving parts, so this doesn't happen all at once. This is a process. But everything is progress as well, even if it doesn't always feel that way. Everything is progress along our ascension journey. As long as we are making adjustments, as long as we are course correcting, as long as we are accounting for the mistakes that we've made society collectively, we're able to make those adjustments. We're able to course correct. We're able to move in a new direction. And some of the old has to be dismantled. And again, that takes time because there's a lot of moving parts in that. It doesn't happen overnight. It's part of a process, but that process is already underway. So don't dismay. Don't get caught up in the fear. Don't get caught up in what you see happening in the physical. Keep playing your part. Keep doing what you feel called to do as far as bettering yourself and taking an active role, taking that first step in bettering society in the way that you feel called to. Maybe this is, standing up for nurses' rights and being, that nurse, being a better nurse with better bedside manner, for example, that has compassion for your patients. Maybe this is, if you're in the arts, maybe this is really using your platform or using your medium to speak collectively on things that matter or things that you're passionate about, because your passion matters and your passion is going to shine through in your work. And your passion is going to collectively matter in the way that, you have something to say, speaking up, speaking truth. Whatever this is, those are just two examples. Whatever this is, it's about rising up, taking that step, taking action through that personal embodiment that affects then the collective. So, okay, this is where we are as a whole heading into this year. This is what this year is going to be about. Let's take a little bit of a closer perspective on each quarter. What might we expect in the quarters to come? So January, February, and March. Well, the Fool is immediately showing itself. So definitely closing of some chapters, closing of some cycles, and starting something new. And allowing the new to start. That's the biggest thing, is that surrender. Allowing the new to take shape. Whatever that is. Again, we have to allow for the destruction in order for the creation. So allowing yourself to surrender to the transformation, allowing yourself to surrender to the change is what creates the ease. And that actually speeds up the timelines. It's the resistance that holds us back collectively. So January, February, and March for the collective, please. January and February and March. What might we expect? January, February, and March. We have the World, the Ace of Fire. So yeah, the Ace of Wands. What is this? The Nine of Cups. So interesting. The Ace of Wands, and I'm going to take this as well because that goes hand in hand, and this one as well. Okay, let me get back to this message. The Ace of Wands is an energy of new beginnings. Aces are always this new beginning kind of energy. The Ace of Wands for me is an energy of a fire being lit. That flame that might have dimmed, the spark that might have felt like it's gone out, it's renewing that spark. And I just done a collective message on Susan Dawn Spiritual Connections for relationships about renewing the spark, but you can apply that to the collective as well. You can apply that to any aspect of your life. If it feels like it's only embers, it's renewing the spark within you. Becoming the phoenix, recognizing that you are the phoenix, and you can give birth to something new, a new version of yourself, anytime. That's a consciousness choice. And so what this feels like here with the World here, it feels like this advent into something new. Advent is an interesting word. Advent is a progression energy, this leveling up into something new. The Ace of Wands is also an energy of awakening, spiritual awakening, enlightenment. Again, it's like this spark, this light turning on. That's what this energy feels like. It feels like there is this collective awakening, this collective ascension that is really happening. The light is turning on here. And I feel like that might be coming out in a desire for for the new, what I'm getting is a couple of different examples. So if we're going to narrow this down to the individual journey, you might be called to move on from the 9 to 5, where you might have felt very resistant, where you might have felt very controlled, that might have felt very inauthentic to you. Moving on from the 9 to 5 corporate culture, for example, even if you're in corporate culture, this might be spreading your wings more in your job, having more autonomy, being more authentic to yourself, for example. So no matter, even if you are in a corporate job, for example, this is you really aligning to yourself, aligning to your passions. They're reminding me, in 2020, we really saw the remote work, right? And there's been a huge reluctance to return to working in office buildings, for example, because there's more productivity. There's been studies that there's more productivity when someone's working from home, for example. That's not possible in all areas of the job, but this is just an analogy. This is just an example. And that's because there's more autonomy, because there's more freedom. That's this here. There's this call, this uprising for more autonomy, more freedom, more liberation of the sovereign self. And that might also be playing out in passions. Now, that could be in hobbies, that can be in work that you do, but really aligning with your passions and allowing those passions to be expressed. There's going to be a collective movement for aligning to those passions and embodying those passions. Again, this could be hobbies, this could be the work that you do. If you are in a job, this could be the responsibilities that you have. There could be negotiations, for example, saying to a boss, hey, this part of my job, I'm really not good at, I'm really not skilled at. I would do better in this kind of responsibility or in this kind of role, something that's really aligned with you. Or finding jobs that are more aligned with you, for example. This could play out also with regards to relationships, where you are aligning more to relationships that are in alignment with where you are in your journey, in your growth. There's this conclusion and beginning happening at the same time with this world card. And the conclusion is a conclusion of old patterns and ways that you were doing things, ways that might have left you out in the cold, ways where you might have abandoned or rejected yourself, ways that you might have said, oh, it's good enough, oh, I'm settled enough, but that wasn't really fulfilling you. This is going to be moving towards more fulfillment. And I feel like it's those seeds that are being planted. There might not be actual physical change quite yet, but it's the seeds that are being planted within the collective consciousness for more authenticity, more autonomy, more freedom, more liberation, even in connection. When you have commitment with somebody, it's about that interdependence, right? It's about that freedom to be your authentic selves without holding yourself away or hiding parts of yourself. It's about accepting each other. So it's all about being true to you. And I feel like there's going to be a huge shift in the collective consciousness that might display itself in individual lives, in the actions that you take, the choices that you make, the jobs that you take, the relationships that you have. There's a huge shift that is happening here. You're moving out from the cold, so to speak, where you left yourself out in the cold, rejected yourself, abandoned yourself, and you're moving more into, okay, what is it that I actually want for my life? What fulfills me? What are my passions? What lights me up? What brings me happiness? What brings me true joy? Again, joy and delight, moving with the open heart, moving more into what makes me happy, what lights me up. That shift, I cannot emphasize enough how monumental that shift is. Rather than holding yourself back because of beliefs or patterns or mindsets or programming, the way society programs, oh, you have to think this way, you have to do it this way. Again, we're in the age of Aquarius now. This is marking huge transformations. So this transformation is transforming the way we view ourselves and the way we want to live our lives. And it's saying, I want to live in love. I want to live in joy. I want to love my life versus feeling just, then it's enough. The old paradigm is falling away. And so that's where it's like, what actually does fulfill me versus what just makes me feel content. Moving from the 9 of Cups to the 10 of Cups. And the 10 of Cups, again, is everything. Ten of Cups is community. Ten of Cups is relationships. Ten of Cups is family. Could be soul family or otherwise. It's moving into relationships that nurture us and fill us, community that supports us, and to our own sacred self that recognizes that we are worthy of happiness, that we are worthy of it all. There comes a point along our ascension journey where we say, you know what? I no longer want to struggle and learn through suffering. I want to learn through joy and through peace. And we might have learned through struggle and suffering because that's what we knew. As a society, that's what we know. Culturally, that's what we know. It's ingrained in us. You can see that in the struggling artist, for example. You know, that the struggling artist, it's, rising from the bootstraps, bringing themselves up from poverty to success. That's the struggling artist. And we've romanticized the struggling artist. But what if we shift that paradigm where we don't have to struggle anymore? We can just create. And we're using art as a metaphor, but you are a creative being. So what is it that you're going to create for your life? What is the palette of your life going to be? What colors are going to shine through? That's this energy here. There is a huge shift that is happening, and those seeds are being planted for this new beginning here. All right, let's see what's going on collectively April, May, and June for the second quarter here. April, May, and June, second quarter. Ace of Air, another new beginning. And the Ace of Air feels like new clarity. Ace of Air is the Ace of Swords here. So it's all about really bringing what you're feeling into your awareness. So you might start here this year with feeling more impassioned, more emboldened. Something's beginning. You might have those feelings rising up. Again, those seeds being planted, right? And starting to take those steps forward, starting to take action in little ways. It doesn't feel like big changes here. It feels like a starting. It feels like a beginning. And the Swords energy is being really mindful and being really aware of those steps that you're taking and having clarity of, oh, this is why I'm taking those steps. This is where this new beginning is leading me. This is why I'm feeling this impassioned energy, this new energy. Let's give an example here before I pull some more cards. For example, the seeds being planted here of this spark being lit within you, right? And you might be starting to take action. Maybe this is you're going back to a hobby that you've always loved but you didn't have time for, or that you didn't feel would come to anything, but it's part of you. It's something that you love. Collectively, this could be, a seed that's being planted of, this job isn't working, this corporate culture isn't working, this responsibility that I have isn't working. When I say responsibility, we all have responsibility, that doesn't change, but being more in line with your values, being more in line with your morals, being more in alignment with what you're good at, for example. So you're moving into a different job that you can really thrive in, that you can really be good at and feel impassioned about, versus just it's moving away from what's the phrase? A means to an end. Moving away from a means to an end and bringing about more passion, bringing about more. So with the Ace of Swords, it's like you have more of that mental clarity, you have more of that understanding and more of that awareness. So what's been rising and feeling, you've been feeling within you, and when I say within you, take this as a collective or take this as your individual journey. What's been rising within you, you're going to start taking movement or making moves from that sense of clarity. And this feels like embodiment too, because you are embodying that sense of awareness. Oh, this is how I was doing things in the past. I don't want to do that anymore. That's what's really shifting. There's a huge shift in the collective consciousness, more clarity that's coming in about why we do things and how we can do things differently. The Hangman. Yep, it's a shift in perspective. To put it bluntly, it's a shift in perspective. Let me get one more card here for clarity. This one wanted to come out, the Seven of Earth. Yeah, the Seven of Earth is those planting seeds. And I feel like those are the seeds that you planted here. And it's like, okay, now I can move forward. Now I can shift. Now I can shift my perspective because I have clarity about what it is that I'm feeling here. Um, and the Seven of Earth is also this energy of process, allowing the process to take shape, allowing things to evolve, allowing things to shift. The Seven of Pentacles is also this energy of planting seeds. And I feel like, okay, now you know with more intention the seeds that you're planting. That's the clarity that's coming through. That's the mindset shift that's coming through. So if we're looking at it from an individual perspective, this could be job changes, going back to hobbies, conscious relationships. Again, there could be endings and beginnings that are happening all at once, but that's part of the transformation, part of the leveling up that is happening because you're becoming more aware of what is serving you and what isn't serving you. And when I say serving you, I mean what really brings you joy versus what doesn't bring you joy anymore. Where you were holding yourself back versus where you want to be going forward. You're really redefining your happiness. That's what the first quarter really feels like, redefining happiness. And as a collective, this is playing a part because you're becoming more aware of what really makes us happy versus what doesn't. And again, we can see this play out in structures and systems and people standing up and saying, this isn't working for us. We're being suppressed. We're not allowed to express ourselves. We are maybe we're having, collectively, we're experiencing, think we're on the brink of a recession. Collectively, we are experiencing, a real shortage in ability to live our passions because we're in survival mode versus thriving. And there are people that are standing up and saying, this is not okay. So it's that shift in collective consciousness to wanting to move out of just surviving to thriving. We want to thrive. And before we would have said, oh, it's okay, this is just the way things are. Now people are really awakening to the fact that it doesn't have to be the way things are. That our personal happiness is important for the global collective as well. It's important for the world as well. It's important for society as well. The more people who are empowered, the more people who are shining their light, the more people who are living out their passions, that's what moves society forward. So there's a real shift that's happening here where you're recognizing your personal happiness and also recognizing that collective happiness is vital to the thriving of a healthy society. That's where in the past we have been really suppressed, and where those systems and structures that have been put into place to benefit the few is being dismantled to really benefit the all. So with the second quarter, I feel like what's happening is, and again, energy is fluid, so this might be the year as a whole as well, but I feel like there's going to be some things that are taking shape within these segments, within these sections, that we'll be seeing this really come to fruition. There's going to be more of an awareness. I'm getting this energy of uprising. So I feel like perhaps in the summer months, you might see more protests. You might see more dismantling of old systems. At the same time, you might see more creation of new systems. And when I say new systems, I'm talking about businesses, maybe new bills being written to kind of combat the old regressionary bills. For example, if we're talking politics. But I do feel like there's going to be this Reformation energy. We're going to see the physical implications of those Reformations energies take place here. So there could be, for example, new businesses that are popping up. That are really helping to move society forward in a way. New innovations, new technology that's coming forward, really planting the seeds for that. I feel like we're going to start to see that come into play. There might be actually even be like new social media platforms, new small businesses. So starting small. And I feel like that's going to have a growth period over this year. So that's where it's going to start. I feel like in the second quarter, like the seeds are being planted here, that passion, that forward movement being planted here. In the physical form, it's being planted here. So again, new businesses being formed, new social platforms, new technology, new innovations that are to the benefit of all versus to the benefit of the few. There could be... I'm getting called to this example. For example, GoFundMe a decade ago didn't exist, right? And now GoFundMe is helping to support so many people through so many different struggles or situations that they're experiencing. GoFundMe can be an amazing platform for community involvement as well. That's just an example of this kind of energy here, to benefit the all. Innovation to benefit the all. That's this kind of energy. So it could be like nonprofits, it could be social reform, it could be political reform. So I do feel like there's going to be some uprisings that are going to be taking place, but I don't feel like it's going to gain momentum. It's going to start small here because there's a radical shift in thinking, a radical shift in awareness of, okay, the way we were doing things, that's not working. We have to make a change. This is that we have to make a change, and the blueprint is being created for that change here. So starting there. Okay, so let's see what's happening in the third quarter, July, August, September. So the latter half of summer, winter, wherever you are. Ace. Look at all these aces. We're starting off with all these aces. This is not a coincidence. This is huge. 2024 is a huge foundational energy here. So the Ace of Pentacles really putting it into place here. So again, where this is like the seeds being planted, maybe new businesses being formed, maybe little protests that gather momentum, this is where the momentum really picks up here. And again, you can apply this to your individual life, but again, we're looking at it from the collective standpoint as well. We have Tower. I'm not surprised to see this. We channeled the Tower in the third quarter last year as well, and that started to, that came about as well. Collectively, Tower moments are the destruction before the creation. They're the breakdown for the breakthrough. It shakes us up. It shakes us up to do something different, to choose differently, to end old systems. I've shared this with some clients before. This is the Good Tarot. So the Good Tarot has a much softer energy when it comes to the tarot cards. And I love this energy because you have the High Priestess in the middle here represented, and you have this circle of completion. And the Ten of Wands is an energy of burden, overwhelm, feeling stuck, feeling like you're just carrying the weight of your world on your shoulders. But it's also an energy of completion. And completion always has a beginning. The 10, completion, also boils down to the 1, new beginning energy, right? So it's this complete cycle that's closing out here. And with the High Priestess represented in the middle here, to me, she's the High Priestess, it's about tuning into our intuition. It's about tuning into our heart. Again, moving out of expectation and duty and obligation and just this kind of malcontent energy, just doing things for the sake of doing things because society is telling us, and learning to trust in our intuition. And again, this is happening on a collective level, but it's also happening because this is what's shifting within you. Learning to trust in your intuition, learning to follow your heart. And as that happens, cycles complete and the old burns away, the old falls away. Learning to trust in the intuition also means becoming more authentically you, integrating that sacred self. So I feel like by the third quarter, there's going to be, by the middle of the year, there's going to be this real shift that is happening in our society, in our collective consciousness, where the old is really falling away. And again, we might see some destruction, but from the destruction comes creation. It's only because a cycle is closing for a new way to give birth. And that new way is being seeded now. It's being planted now. Let me get a little bit more about the third quarter and see what else we can maybe expect to experience in the third quarter of 2024. I'm seeing something about gardens. There could be more community gardens that are being planted, being created, being nurtured, especially with regards to food and resources. If we have been experiencing a lot of lack with regards to food and resources, I feel like there's going to be new innovations for those for food and resources to come to fruition, including like community gardens being really important here. I'm actually seeing interesting, somebody might be buying a plot of land significant plot of land is what I'm seeing for food. But this feels like a nonprofit. This might be a very specific situation here. It feels like this could be a nonprofit because the food doesn't feel like it's going to be sold. It feels like it's going to be given. This is philanthropy. Philanthropy going to play a huge part because that's part of authenticity, right? And part of a shifting paradigm. So I'm seeing that there could be a huge somebody, a philanthropist perhaps, buying a plot of land in order to build a community garden. And as far as a resource for food, this could be maybe somebody within your own community. This could be somebody, I don't know if this is like, I don't know what this is. This could be something that is specific to one person who's watching this, or this could be specific to, the global collective. But I'm seeing that specific scenario. Food and resources. Food and resources is just what I keep hearing. So a lot more philanthropy coming through here. Tell me more about the third quarter. What might be happening in the third quarter? I'm going to take them all. The Eight of Swords, the Strength card. I'm going to put it like this. Eight of Swords, the Strength card, and the Eight of Pentacles. Reformation with regards to work as well. Revolution with regards to work as well. I'm getting that energy of autonomy again. Really finding that personal autonomy, finding that personal sovereignty. A lot of people, I feel like there's going to be a revolution when it comes to small business, when it comes to working for yourself. If you are part of a corporate structure or you are working for other people, then again, it's calling in more autonomy. It's like this. It's like if you work for a small business, for example, that small business is going to put you into a place where you really thrive, where you really grow. It's like, okay, maybe you're not good at answering phones, but you're really good at face-to-face communication. So putting you front desk, that kind of thing, somewhere where you really thrive. That's going to start taking hold here. More small businesses cropping up, but not small businesses that are inauthentic, not small businesses that are just ways to make money. This is coming from a place of passion. This is coming from a place of personal happiness, so that you can thrive with that place, from that place of empowerment. Remember the message that everybody plays a part, that everybody has their role. I feel like part of this year individually might be a path of self-discovery. What is it that I love? What is it that lights me up? What is it that I'm passionate about? And I feel like that's going to happen on a collective scale, and people are going to move more and more into those roles. So small businesses cropping up, but not the small businesses of the past where it was just like, oh, this is going to make money. I feel like MLMs are going to fall because they're not authentic. The multi-level marketing, I feel like those are going to fall, those are going to crumble because they're not authentic. And again, we're channeling for 2024, but remember, energy is fluid and timelines shift, so this might be a process moving into 2025 and a little bit beyond. So let's just take this as it resonates. This is just meant to be guidance, to help you navigate any energies that are coming through here. So I do feel like there's going to be more of a focus on the authentic self and the embodied self, versus the inauthentic or the just what wasn't working before. With the Eight of Swords and the Strength card, this is moving out of an energy of fear, anywhere where you felt blocked, anywhere where so what happens as we begin to express ourselves? What happens as we begin to really step up? As we begin to fall in line with our own passions? You might have some controversy. You might have some conflicting energies. You might have some people who are kind of against that, right? People who want the same old, people who like the paradigm. And so this is about not getting yourself caught up in that, not getting yourself trapped in other people's expectations or other people's influence or other people's contrarian energies. It's a very contrarian energy, but allowing yourself to believe in yourself and having the strength and the confidence to stand up and believe in yourself. A lot of that comes from our own ego. A lot of that comes from our own fears because of things that we experienced in the past. Maybe we had ideas in the past and people were contrary to, or people said, no, that's not going to work, or that can't happen. Again, Pluto in Aquarius is all about innovation. And I keep bringing about Pluto in Aquarius because we're starting the year with Pluto in Aquarius, even though it's going to last for the next 20 years. It's foundational here. This is what we're moving into. This is what's creating that transformation into this new earth energy, into this new way of being, into this new embodiment. And again, you can't have an external change, a societal change, without first changing within ourselves. So look within your own patterns, look within your own beliefs, look within your own blocks. What are you holding on to within yourself? What pattern is your own ego repeating that you're just seeing play out? Because as you're repeating, oh, I'm not good enough, you're going to have people reflecting, you're not good enough. And that's for you to rise up within yourself and say, you know what? I challenge that. You know what? I don't accept that. I believe in myself. I trust in myself. I trust in this business venture. I trust in this passion. I trust in what it is that I'm creating. I trust. And so the more that you believe in yourself and find that inner strength to express that full embodiment of who you are, the more those naysayers, those contrarian energies, whatever that is, it fades away. Your reality shifts from your perspectives, your perceptions, your energy, your beliefs. That's how energy shifts. And even though we're looking at things from a collective standpoint, again, recognize that the individual creates the whole. It's a shift in consciousness because as each individual shifts in consciousness, that creates the new collective consciousness. So work within yourself. What beliefs, what fears, what blocks are being reflected back to you. And it's reflected back to you just so that you can change it. It's reflected back to you so you can see it. It's reflected back to you as a trigger so you can heal the trigger. So you can heal that within yourself and shift. So I do feel like there might be some challenges or obstacles, but it's asking you to rise up and really believe in yourself, believe in what it is that you're creating. So I do feel like new ways of doing things, new ways of business, new businesses, just new ways of working as well. And also I'm hearing new ways of working with each other. Yeah, with the King of Cups, new ways of working with each other. The King of Cups is this energy of a highly conscious individual. And when I mean highly conscious, I mean in balance with their emotions, in balance with their sacred self, their integrated self, embodying the integrated self, in balance with their higher self. You see how he's kind of in like a meditative state, just in balance with himself. That's going to create the shift too. Okay, so let's see what's happening for the end of the year, October, November, December. We have Temperance. It's called Patience in this deck. Temperance is an energy of healing, an energy of balance, and it is an energy of holding that space for the change. I feel like in 2024, we're going to really learn how to embody holding space for each other, and that's what creates community. Being able to accept and hold that space for each other is what creates that support within community structures. I feel that community is also going to change. What we think of community is going to change. Where we go to for community is going to change. For example, there might be some fall of churches or other structures like that. I feel like, again, anything that isn't authentic, if it's not authentic, it's going to be dismantled. So I feel like where we once went for community, if it doesn't feel authentic, I feel like that's going to crumble, or at the very least, you're going to separate yourself from it. Or the collective, I should say, is going to separate itself from it. And finding maybe new community centers, new soul tribe, stuff like that. The crystal shop where I work, that's a big theme I've been channeling for them for this year is community. And it's not about the shop itself, it's about how people feel when they step through the doors. Accepted, loved, supported, compassionate. You know, at the shop, we were always talking to the customers because that's how we relate, that's how we connect. Because that's what it's about. It's about that connection. It's about that relating to each other, understanding each other, and accepting each other. So you can find maybe community. You can find that in a what's it called? A book group. a reading group. Maybe you find that at work. Maybe you create a new, like a homeschooling, for example. You create that in the education system with a new, like, homeschooling group, so that you're not isolated when you're homeschooling your children. Maybe you find that in the schools itself. But the old structures, anything that feels inauthentic, is going to be dismantled, and new community is going to rise. For fire, there's that commitment, that joy, that celebration, that coming together, that oneness. The Four of Wands is also an energy of marriage. But what I'm getting from this is a marriage of, that's the balance energy. It's a marriage of two things, a marriage of ideas, a marriage of souls, a marriage, a coming together of souls, a union of souls. That's a harmony energy. And we're not talking about marriage necessarily between one or two people. Let me say that again. We're not talking about marriage necessarily between two people. We're talking about a marriage of a union of spiritual connection, a union of ideas, a union, just a balance, a harmonization that's coming into being. And we can apply this to a marriage between our work and our authentic self. For example, really aligning with work that is our passion, or creative pursuits that is our passion. That's the marriage that I'm talking about. It's a coming together. It's a union of the outside and the inside. And Three of Cups, joy, celebration, happiness, all the good things. So I feel like this is really, gosh, I feel like no matter what it is that you might be seeing as evidence, don't look at the evidence of the physical. Feel within your heart space energetically what's shifting. Because if you just look at the evidence or the data or what society is trying to throw at you or throw up on the screen, for example, then you're going to feel very limited. You're going to feel very restricted. Make your world a little bit smaller. Tune into your own community. Tune into your own soul tribe, your own soul family. Tune into your own soul self and see what is shifting there. Because I do feel like 2024, as much as we might feel challenged, as much as we might be experiencing some destruction and dismantling, it feels extremely, extremely optimistic. It feels extremely creative. And if the more of us that tune into that hope, the healing, the creative energies, the more that is then created as a ripple effect. It's not to bypass anything that's experienced. We hold empathy, we hold space for what's being experienced. But it's not sinking into those dismal, defeatist, and fear-based energies that, again, like news and newspapers and screens and social media tends to bring us into. This feels very optimistic. It feels like there's a lot of change that's coming through, but also more stability from that change. Okay, I was going to move into the different themes, but I feel like what I'm going to do is we're just going to go right into challenges for the year ahead and blessings for the year ahead. I feel like we're going to, we'll talk more about how things might be changing. We've already talked about finances and career. We did talk a little bit about relationships. We talked a lot about soul growth. So I feel like we covered a lot of that, and we'll go into some of that more with some follow-ups. Especially as we review going forward what we're channeling here. So, challenges: surrender outdated beliefs about yourself. Let go of limiting ideas about yourself that originate from the past. Then you can own your power and soar into your life. Again, this is like a blessing as much as it is a challenge, because this is the transformation that we're moving into, right? And as you are shifting this individually within your own self, this is having a huge impact on the collective consciousness. So you can see this within your own life, where as you shift beliefs and release old beliefs and release resistance and change your mindsets and change the way that you view things, repeating stories on loops in your head, the more that we shift out of that, look at things from a wider perspective, the more we shift the energy as a whole, the more we shift our lives, the more joy and happiness comes in. Because we're more in alignment with our soul now versus the past.
We're more in alignment with our soul now versus the ego. And the ego is the past, essentially. The ego is patterns and programs that run trying to protect us, things that we think about ourselves. But the more that we're in alignment with our soul, the more we know who we are. And that is the integrated self. That is authenticity. And so I feel like collectively society is going to be challenged. What is it that we believe as a society? And you can see this in how we operate. We're in like late stage capitalism, right? Is capitalism actually serving us? Or is there a better way of doing things? Is this structure actually serving us? Or is there a better way of doing things? It's shifting the beliefs societally as well. So this is both the challenge and the blessing. We're being challenged in our collective belief systems. And the more that you do that individual work with your own individual beliefs, the more you're able to have a wider lens perspective, and the more you're able to create a shift within the collective consciousness as well. What are the blessings? What are the blessings for 2024? Collective blessings for 2024. What are the blessings for 2024, please? What are the blessings for 2024? Surrender and individuality. So I'm getting this at once, like surrender, individuality. This does not mean giving up the unique expression that you are. This does not mean giving up your individuality. Not at all. This means that we're shifting from that isolated, individualistic approach, I've got it all, I can do it all, nobody needs to help me, to more of that community energy. We're surrendering the belief that we have to do things singularly or all on our own, and allowing ourselves to receive that support while expressing ourselves as the unique soul that we are, as a unique individual that we are, as a unique personality that we are. Because you're still a personality. You're still you. And that unique expression of you is what makes humanity so beautiful. But you're also so much more than that. You're also part of the whole. This is not about codependency. This is not about blending into the collective. That's not what unity consciousness is about. Unity consciousness is about recognizing the unique expression and accepting the unique expression of each other as all parts of the beautiful whole. I call it we're all unique threads in the tapestry of creation. There's a whole beautiful tapestry of creation, and you're one expression of that. That's what unity consciousness is about. It's about recognizing the whole, and that you are a facet of it. You are an aspect of it. You are an expression of it. So we are surrendering that need to be isolated, to be singular, to be on our own, where I don't need anything from anybody. I'm good. To embrace allowing ourselves to receive support and be accepted, and really find our soul family, find our soul tribe, and build that community from a place of acceptance and authenticity and love and openness. There's a huge shift that's happening, and this is the blessing that's happening, perhaps on the heels of a challenge of beliefs. All right, let's see what messages we have as far as additional guidance. Additional guidance, please, for 2024. Additional guidance for 2024, please. Additional guidance for 2024. Now is the time to share your light with others. That is community. That is unity consciousness. You are a light. And so is this person, and so is this person, and so is that person. That's what it means to see things and each other from the soul's perspective, not just from the limited confines of who they are as a human being or as a personality or as an identity, recognizing the soul and the light within each other. And allowing us to share that with each other. That's what community is all about, sharing it with each other. They just called me to end here, so I'm going to end that there. We're just going to get a final message using my Conversations with the Universe message deck. Oh, we have the universe says, I'm here. You think I haven't been listening because you haven't been speaking, but I still hear you. You think I can't love you because you've neglected me, but when you need me most is when I love you more. This energy is recognizing the universal oneness within all. And if you felt disconnected, if you felt divided, if you felt separate from yourself, from your community, from your family, from your brothers and sisters, from the universe itself, this is a shift, a transformation back into connection, back into oneness, back into non-separation, back into connecting with each other. Beautiful energy. I, for one, am extremely excited for what is to come in 2024. Sending you all so much love, so much light, so many blessings for the year ahead.